So here we go again. We're going to give her one more run in the pit before we retire to the scrap yard. She's pretty beat up, but up front, the wheels, again, we got a tire there to change. On this one, it's already painted too. That's nice, black and gold. That strut, again, we changed on the right front before the second run. That tire was already turned in, so not a big deal there. Up front, we do have the pulley damage with this being pressed in. We'll try to pull that out a little bit to get off that pulley system. Not a big deal as the alternator is down in the back. It's pretty well protected, actually. However, the biggest thing is I don't have power steering now, so it'll be a little bit more of a workout. But again, line's looped. Nothing changed there. Just top off the fluids, check the oil, check the tranny, which last time it was perfect. Around the rear wheels, I'm thinking I have two options at the wheels. Could either leave these wheels like this, take them off, of course, and beat up and in, or, I had to stop there for a second, but as I was saying, a couple options. Either leave the wheel like this with the chewed up rubber on it. Of course, I'll beat in, take off and beat around the fenders, beat that in as much as I can away from the wheels, and run the wheels like that. Or I might cut the tire off so it's just the rim. I'll probably see what the clearance is whenever I beat it in, both that one as well as this wheel over here, same thing. If the clearance is decent enough, I'll probably just leave the rubber on it, but I gotta take the rubber off anyways to scrap the aluminum rim, so I'll probably do that. Rear end, you can see it is battered and bruised, but just kind of beat in at the wheels. I do though need to, I'm gonna drain the stock tank. Again, Derby Aftermath of the second one is mentioning how it's pressed down and the rear end up. It's pretty much pressing on the tank. I'm gonna leave the tank there, I think. I might drop it because I actually don't want it to plow anymore. Kind of like the Accord I had earlier. I was concerned about the tank that I left in plowing down. So it's just two straps, so I'll probably end up dropping it actually. But we'll put in our Derby tank inside there, probably throw in this guy here, the one that I run the power to the fuel cell directly off the battery. So again, these over here, other than the wheels, it's just a lot of carnage, and that's that. So not too big of a deal. Just try to get her. You can see how she's sagging a little bit. The rear end, boy, was it a hard hitting end of that last feature. Brad and Ben, they were flying around. Probably take my roof sign off because it's already kind of bending in. I don't want it to damage my sign. I'll just spray like an L10 or something. So that's the plan. Gonna start to get the wheels on, beat around the rear fenders here a little bit now, and start piecing her together. See if we can get her well enough for one more fall cleanup show in the area with GSP that I've run this one with twice. See if we can get her back in the pit and have some fun before we send her to the scrapyard. So just to show, we ended up going the other route that I was considering. Took off the wheels and I said, you know, even if I go to the rim, I don't really like how the vehicle's setting, in particular how low it is and how I'm gonna take a shot or two in the back. It's likely gonna kind of fold up. So we ended up going with the old spare tires, and you can see this one over here is a little bit closer. Again, it's so bent up underneath from the big hits, but I like it. It's actually better than I thought it was gonna be. This wheel here, this spare tire was actually off of this vehicle. It's kind of pretty rusted, but it actually holds the air. The other one's off the Cruiser I ran before, the 02 Cruiser actually, that I ran 3 years ago. So yeah, back in again, a lot of road rage and damage, but you can see how we got it pressed in around the wheels. This one's also bent or bending, but it's more so bending just a little down. So yeah, the rear end is good. Again, she's got a pretty hard packed back end here, and those spares should at least give us some clearance and some smooth running for a period of time at least. So there we go. Moving on to the gas tank. Drop her, get the fuel set up so we can finish up. All right, so we've relocated to my father-in-law's giant pole barn with the dirt floor as we're gonna mess with some gas here. Shout out to Mark. I don't think he watches these videos, but we appreciate him not minding too much us using his space while it's empty until the fall when he puts stuff in here for storage. But Got her jacked up again, safety, of course, at all times. Got my ramps just kind of sitting under in case something were to happen. Of course, don't ever just leave something on your jack. Use your jack stands in case the jack, breaks, which absolutely happens, or some reason somebody bumps it, comes loose. So we got her jacked up. So step one, we're gonna drop. It's just 2 straps underneath there. See if I can get a look. So we're gonna drop the tank. There we go. Gonna drop it down, then I'll be able to easily see my fuel lines, which again are running on the passenger side. Not really, I don't know that any other vehicle other than the Cruiser I've had that. So they run all the way up to here, and right here, shortly after where it comes down, you can see it there, from the motor, that's where I'm gonna cut and splice in. Again, it's best if you go from the motor, but the way this one is, it's in like the back is where the fuel lines come in. So even though I'm using my Derby tank that has the long gas hoses, I'm still going to do it underneath. But it's tucked up in there nice. There's actually a little space away from the brake line, so it shouldn't be an issue to cut it carefully with my handsaw, and then we'll splice our wires in and probably run it as close as I can into here. Maybe like right there beside the battery box. Tank should fit here, and if not, then I'm gonna have to maneuver a little bit because I don't want it back here, because as you can see, that's typically where I'd put it, but the rear end's already lifting up and in, and I don't want it to potentially press on that tank if it were to lift much more, even though if it lifts much more, I'm gonna be dragging. So once in the Derby, you're gonna have to be rear end, kind of smart. It's a ring circular Derby, only one in this part of the country, Cochranton. Old Horse Track, I believe, is the gentleman that set up the ring. It's a pretty good time. Nice track. It is tricky being in the circle ring, but survive the first 90 seconds where everyone's flying around going forward, and then see how long we can last and have some fun. So that's the plan. That's how we're going to get her set up with fuel. Here we go. So there we have her drop down and out. Again, the Cruiser, I think, has a super easy, just 2 straps. You can see I have them just bent back and around as I slid it down. And again, how I do it is I put the jack under it, and as I loosen the straps, I just put it up to it and just slowly let the jack come down. And that way it doesn't just drop, or it's hard on you, hit you in the face or something like that, hard to get it out. So we got her down. We'll just, right where you can see the silver one there, that is the main fuel line. And then the black one beside it, we'll cut them there, pull this out, drain all the fuel, of course, especially with gas pushing $4 most of the time. And then we'll look to cut up there and get our Derby tank in. And we're gonna use that guy there that I'll splice right to the battery line for direct power. So going great. And here we have her back in our garage, and yes, we've got her. We don't have her bolted down yet. Drilled a hole through there and through the front there. It'll be enough to keep it sturdy, and it'll be resting against my battery box inside of this rear seat. But she's in there. Fuel lines are underneath. I didn't have any spray foam. I didn't have a fresh, or I had a fresh can rather, but I didn't want to open just for this. And I had some just seat foam. I cut out a chunk of it and put the lines through there. Same thing underneath. Again, I always think it's smart. You can see how it's hanging down right now. I'm gonna secure that more. I just have it secured with the one zip tie there where that foam is. I'm gonna jack it up and secure it more. I just kind of got it stable and then moved it out. But spliced in right there. Have my boy HUD help me, him get inside and hold the bolt as I tie down the tank. And everything's ready to go. So good deal there. Wasn't too bad. Just had to take time, and of course be careful anytime you're messing with fuel. Make sure you're secure, especially if you're under the vehicle, things like that. And up here, the only thing we're gonna do is we're gonna touch up some welds, and I put a bolt through there. I might put another small one, like a nut in there, so I can get a better weld, as this part of the bumper mount is missing. And you can see how it's kind of pressed up and back. So I'll weld this kind of clamp here on. Oops, sorry. Weld this clamp here on. I'll weld in there to make that a little more stable, weld the bottom. And then same thing over here. The top and inside welds are holding good, but I'll kind of touch up this bottom and along there. Same thing, maybe clean out this dirt here and get a little weld in there. So front end will be more just whenever we need her, but we'll touch that up. And again, she's still pretty hard in the back, and that's the preferred way to hit with her. So final pieces here, and she's ready to go again. And here you have it, our final look at our battered and bruised two-time pre-ran. About to have her third run 2002 PT Cruiser again. She's as good as we can make her, I would say. Shout out to my oldest boy Hudson. He once again helped Dad get inside and the tank. We got it all set up. I'll show here after I go around the outside how he did that with me. Again, you can see how we don't have a lot of clearance on the ground from how beat in the back end is. I didn't want to try to straighten it out because I thought that would actually likely make it weaker, you know, kind of like when you bend something out and then it gets hit again, it's going to get pressed in and likely be even weaker. So I just left it as it is. Again, we're going to the Ring of Fire just a couple days from now. Whenever I'm recording this, 3 days from now, it's taking place. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. It's a nice track. Again, circular track, only one in this part of the country. And just going to try to survive the first, 2 or so minutes, kind of like you do in every stock derby, and then hopefully get to have some fun. You can see again, this is straight. So this right here is what my car looks like when it's driving straight. You can see that one's pretty turned in. Again, we replaced the strut after the first run as it was bent. This wheel's just slightly turned in like it was at first, but she still drives straight. Touched up our welds just a little bit. You can see a little bit of fresh there. And again, over here, touched up where it was bent there. Same thing here. And again, put a bolt in there and got a little bit of a better weld on the bottom this time. Have a bolt gone through there so that I had something I could actually form a weld to. Again, shout out to Noah Noah. Totally wasn't thinking. Noah Murrow, that is. If he sees these videos, I didn't know that, and that's something I learned. So she's still hard on the bumper, but the frame rails, as you can see, just like my Elantra, and I didn't even hit much with the front end. It was more defensive hits, and you can see how it's crimpling back and in on the frame rail there. My Elantra did the same thing, just not nearly as hard as the Accord in particular that I ran, or other cars. So yeah, again, just kind of beat the back end as tight as we can inside. You can see how she's again lifted, and here again, shout out to my boy. We got the derby tank inside. Again, it's directly wired. The power is from the stock fuel cell. I believe that's a 4-cylinder Camry that's inside that. Bought off my buddy Lucas. And again, power positive to the positive terminal, and then just the negative one, same thing. And when you touch them, she's funneling fuel. You got to turn her on. So it works pretty well. And just ran a bolt there and on the inside, so it's good and sturdy, and should be more than enough out of the way. So underneath the hood, nothing else in particular. We'll check our fluids one more time, transmission as well as the oil, and we'll top off our water, and again, a scoop of fabric softener. It's worked really well in 2 runs. The last run was probably about 20 minutes. First run was, I think, like 12 to 15, so not super long runs, but it's worked really well. And again, up front here, I just have the wiring pulled out. Again, the belt is missing there, but this one, I think I showed earlier in the video, again, the alternator's all the way back there. That belt's on and runs fine, so it shouldn't be sucking the battery at all. So that's her. Not really sure what we're gonna get. Hoping to have some fun. We'll see who shows there. It's a cleanup show. Should have a good turnout. It's a nice derby too, not far from us. So hopefully a good time. So that's our last look at her. We took the roof sign off again. I was gonna spray paint an L10, but I don't think I am. I'm gonna leave her like that. So hopefully we have some fun. We'll see.